woman was murdered in North Carolina, and the guy who murdered her had a long rap sheet, and he was let out. And this is one of these issues we talk about it here, where criminal justice is complicated, and there's nuance to everything. But if you're on the left, you have to recognize that a lot of people in the country for a long time have become very disgusted with the propensity of some jurisdictions, some courts, some systems to release people who've got history of criminal activity, convictions, not alleged, and then they get released and then they commit another crime. So the guy who did this had a long history and had been released. And it's North Carolina, purple state. The local government in Charlotte, where this occurred, is more Democratic, although they've had Republican governance there. And there's a racial component too, because the alleged killer was black, the woman who was killed from Ukraine is white, and the president talked about it today. Let's listen to that, please. President Trump talking about this.
Give my love and hope to the family of the young woman who was stabbed this morning or last night in Charlotte by a madman, a lunatic. Just got up and started. It's right on the tape. Not really watchable because it's so horrible, but just viciously stabbed. She's just sitting there. So they're evil people. We have to be able to handle that. If we don't handle that, we don't have a country.
So this did not just occur, but the surveillance video just was released, and it's horrifying. So we like to say two-way, these are conversations like no other. And that can mean a lot of things. I'm wanting now to have a conversation about all the multiple dimensions of this, like no other, that I wouldn't hear anyplace else. So Rachel, I turn to you to kick us off and just talk about what to you is important to discuss about this.
Yeah, I was gonna start with Emma Jo because there's been a lot of conservative sort of commentators talking about how the media is covering this, but I actually, since you were talking about how this guy was a repeat offender, just start with Nina here because there's a lot of there has been a lot of support in Democratic circles for various sort of decriminalization efforts, over the past few years. What should the Democratic position be on repeat offenders to make sure something like this doesn't happen? Like, what is the position? How do you address this to make sure communities are safe?
Rachel, I can't speak for Democrats. What I do know is LaRuska, her last name, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, was senselessly murdered. Period. And unless people are going to say that this is a hate crime based on race, I don't know why we bring in race and ethnicity into this. This is not being defined as a hate crime. This is a system that has failed all of us. It is very clear, and not all people with mental health challenges are criminal. So I'm violent. So I want to make that clear. And I understand this from a personal, because I had a cousin who shot and killed his mother and his father. He shot his father, my uncle, sitting in his favorite chair watching TV, and he blew his brains out.
Oh my God.
And then he hunted his mother down, my aunt, and killed her. He was a paranoid schizophrenic. So we fast forward to Zaruska, who's sitting on this train, and this man kills her. He has a criminal past, no doubt, but his criminal past was not of murder. His own mother came out and said, something is wrong with my son. A judge had said he needed to be not counseled, but have an evaluation. So I say this to say that Zaruska is collateral damage for a systemic failure. And any of us could have been her. There is no racial component to this, and I am offended that people on the right want to politicize this in a race way instead of saying that it is a systemic failure and this man should have never been out. They failed him, and they failed a whole bunch of other people who may not even be violent. That's what this is about. And anybody that would politicize this for their own gain, something is wrong with them. I am troubled that this happened to her because that could have been any of us.
Emma Jo.
Or her family as well.
Yeah, I mean, I'm like stunned by that story, Nina. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. That is just so horrific. I can't, I'm like not over that. I'm sorry about that. But anyway, it's like kind of hard to like actually like orient myself in this conversation after hearing that story. I'm so sorry. Jesus Christ. Anyway, so yeah, like yeah, race. I totally agree with you that this has nothing to do with race. That taking that angle on this is not only disgusting, but also just is not relevant. Excuse me. I haven't seen, though, that commentary coming from MAGA. I think the reason why MAGA exploded over this story, aside from the fact that obviously there was video, which is like triggers a very intense reaction when there's a visual of a woman getting stabbed. But aside from that, I think that it has just to do, and Nina and I have discussed this on the group chat on a few episodes where I think we're honestly kind of on the same page. And I think that my view represents a lot of people in MAGA, or at least the MAGA chatter people, which is this has nothing to do with race. Nobody cares about the race of anybody involved in this stuff. This has to do purely with safety. This is a safety issue. The cities in this country have become lawless and crazy, and people are nervous. And as Trump has shown in DC, which I think makes this debate even hotter right now, like the timing that this happened in, is that Trump has shown that this lifestyle is a choice. Living like this is a choice. You don't have to allow your life and your city to be run by maniacs and violent people. And this has nothing to do with race. I've never seen the first commentary that I saw about race came from Brian Stelter on CNN accusing the right of caring about this person's race. I never, and I talk to people who comment from MAGA world and are journalists in MAGA world, both publicly, I'm watching them, and privately, I'm talking to them. I swear, I have never heard a single person bring up this person's race. Nobody cares. The issue at hand is the fact that he was allowed to be there and kill her. That's all. And people are just super hyped up about this because nobody is people are sick of this crime stuff in the cities. They're sick of it. And Trump has shown that actually, if you load up the streets with law enforcement, it stops. This is a choice. We do not want to make this choice anymore. This woman just got killed.
But in terms of loading up the streets with law enforcement, National Guard, I mean, that's one thing in terms of the crime issue. But as Nina was talking about, like there's a whole the mental health component here. Like, how do you keep people who are in crisis off the streets? Like, what
I
do
mean,
community leaders need to be doing to make sure someone like that, if even if they're not trying to get help, is forced to get help for the safety of the rest of the community? Like Nina, was there in your own family situation, was there something that like looking back that you're like X, Y, and Z should have happened? There wasn't funding for this, or he was taken to a hospital and they said, "Oh, he's X years old and he's saying he's fine. Therefore, we're gonna just let him go." Like how did the system fail? What can they do?
my cousin had never been violent to that point.
Wow.
He wasn't violent until he was violent. And I want to address something. I know Mark says don't read the chat, but today's chat, there's a lot of racialized stuff going on in there, black fatigue and all that kind of stuff. I'm just going to say to you cowards in the chat, don't do that. Okay? It is really, it is a disgrace for people, the ones in that chat that are playing games with this. Rachel, to your point, my cousin hadn't been violent until he was violent, and what my understanding of this guy, he had armed robbery and those kinds of things. When I say the systemic failing, we gotta, so I hear what Emma Joe is saying about the president is showing, I'm putting this in air quotes, Emma Joe and I rarely have a disagreement, but just that I don't think you can sustain that. It's not sustainable. Even a judge weighed in and said, we need more resources for mental health. We have got to have, so if you have you got to have the carrot and the stick. That is
I don't disagree. Like there should be some sort of, discernment of, who is like a violent criminal who like has got a problem with that, and who is somebody who's like out of touch with reality and going crazy. I don't know that I think that this particular case is a guy who has lost touch with reality and has gone crazy. I mean, exhibited probably firstly by the fact that he chose a vulnerable target. He wasn't erratically just attacking anybody he saw on the bus. He saw a vulnerable target and killed her, which requires making a calculation and an assessment that I would think takes sanity and ability to think and process. But leave that aside.
but
I agree that you need to
his
let me say,
mother.
I know I agree that we need to discern, But making that distinction, like hemming and hawing over that distinction, you know, in New York, you see it all the time where there are people who actually are clearly insane on the subways, wilding out, and everybody just kind of has to keep their head down and not make eye contact and hope that the person doesn't do anything violent, right? You don't make that assessment in like by leaving them. Like, I don't know what we do. I'm not like a criminal like sociologist, but I think that I just keep getting back to that thing where it's like, it's a choice. I don't know how we make that delicate assessment because obviously these are free people.
Okay, hold on one second.
It's kind of like to know it when you see it.
Hold on one second. If you want to be in on the conversation on this topic or any other, but we maybe stay on this topic if you wish, please raise your hand and I'll turn it back to Rachel and we'll start to call on folks. Go ahead, Rachel.
Yeah, no, it's just Nina looked like she wanted to chime in when Emma was talking. Go for it.
Mother, the reason why I'm not just because not all people who have mental health challenges are violent. I want to make that clear because a lot of times we label people who have mental challenges. His mother said my son needed help. It's on record that he called the police, talking erratically and crazy, and help did not come. There is no excuse for him murdering someone. All I'm saying is that in this particular case, there are links to maybe that there was something wrong with him. It doesn't justify him committing murder.
Yeah. Okay. I'm sorry. Sorry about that. Let's get folks in. And again, Nina, I'd heard this story before, so I probably should have still said something, but thank you for sharing your family situation. Obviously, we all know how painful that was and is for your family forevermore. Our sponsor, again, tonight, our good friends at Cozy Earth. And what's great about them is great stuff. You've heard me talk about before. The bedding's great. The shirts are great. But you also hear me talk quite a bit about the pants. And we got a letter this morning I read on the morning meeting from a guy, a famous viewer of the morning meeting, who said he can't get enough of the pants and he doesn't like buying clothes, hates clothes, he said. I don't know if he's a nudist, but he said he hates clothes. But he says his wife says he looks great in the pants. Here's the thing about these pants and why I recommend you buy them. You got your drawer with all your pants, maybe a shelf, maybe a drawer, wherever you keep your pants. These pants, you go over like Jerry Seinfeld, his favorite t-shirt. All I do, I got about 6 pairs of pants that fit me. I just take these every time. These are the kind of pants you take them every time. So if you need a good pair of pants, you need your like go-to pants. A man, woman, a child, go to cozyearth.com, buy them 40% off. Use the code 2way for 40% off at cozyearth.com. Built for real life, made to keep up with yours. Cozy Earth, telling you, buy the pants. That was a delicious video experience. I think you'll agree. Now, what you need to do in return for getting to enjoy that is hit the subscribe button, be part of the Two-Way community, never miss a thing.